I isolate myself and scared to experience joy sometimes. I suffer from PTSD. I suffer from acute social anxiety. I knew I had CPTSD when I heard a man yelling after leaving a narcissistic, emotional abuser situation. When I was free and I heard a man yell, I felt more fear than I had ever in my life. I feel like my anxiety has been through the roof lately, and I find myself freaking out when I go to certain places where things have happened. I have been emotionally abused and threatened at home, bullied, and got into an abusive relationship as a young child because being abused felt so familiar that I mistook it for home. So, what are these which I have been reading out? These are not excerpts from any stories, these are excerpts from real life which emotionally abused victims had spoken about. So, these are certain remarks which they have mentioned even after they have been out of that relationship. So, friends and sisters, today I want to explore along with you whether it is okay to keep enduring emotional abuse like many of our relatives, siblings, and sometimes, unfortunately, even our parents tell us. Time again, we have heard that we have gone back to them and told them that this is what we are enduring. So they have come back and told us, ignore it, make peace with it. This is how the world runs. I had taken it also. Or worse still, you are responsible for it. Is it okay then to listen and endure, ignore, and continue? So, in this video, I want to share some research findings which have happened, which explore what is the effect of long term emotional abuse on a person. Now, when we are discussing this, let's also remember that it's not you alone. Especially if you're a parent, you have your child who is there beside you, hearing and understanding, and maybe not fully comprehending all that is going on. With that pretext, let's start discussing. So, the first most important and startling finding which I came across was an Atlanta studies which mentioned that young children who have been subject to emotional abuse exhibit the same level of PTSD as a person who has been violated in a military service. Can you imagine that? The same level of PTSD is that. And interestingly, all these children have never been physically abused. It is only emotional abuse that has caused this extent of damage. What else? Most of these emotional abused victims have displayed chronic anxiety and depression. Some of it has gone so far that they have also resorted to drug abuse. They suffer from chronic social anxiety. They are not able to process healthy emotions. Now, the brain is so much used to uh, dealing with stressful situations. So don't forget that emotional abuse also continuously subjects you to a stressful situation, and our brain is wired to prepare ourselves to brace ourselves for managing that adverse situation. So if you are there in an emotionally abusive situation for a long period of time, your brain kinds of get used to that stressful situation, dealing with that stressful situation. So even if you are out of that emotionally abusive situation, even later on, the brain will be incompetent to process any healthy emotions. So, for a long period of time, you will not be able to process healthy emotions. You will not be able to trust relations. You will be subject to anxiety and stress for no reason. You're already out of it. But in spite of that, it is the brain which has been conditioned for such a long period of time. That is why it is used to creating those responses within you. And most importantly, it is not for you alone. It is also something which is getting transferred to your child. If it is a male child, the male child understands that that is the norm and carries that same abusive behavior to the next generation. And also, to some extent, this particular feeling or this particular abuse, constant name calling, gaslighting, yelling, maybe even there is no physical abuse. In spite of that, that kinds of perpetrates within that child, as well as, and if it is a female child, as I just read out, your female child will consider that that is the norm, and you are doing nothing but creating another another way for your female child to end up in the same situation as yours. As I just read out, the female child will also consider that another abusive relationship to be the normal and subject herself to the same abuse which you have been going through. So, my question again to all of you: do you think it is okay for us to ignore it, continue living it? Is it really worth it? Fearing society, fearing our finances, fearing so many other things. Is it really worth it?